It's that time of the year again on the farm. In today's video, we're going to go over what we're growing, why we're growing it, and what resources we're using. Stick around. So here in New England, we have a short growing season, so I want to get the most out of the time that I have. We are in zone 5, and we're right on the border of A and B. And so I'll use resources that are specific for our area. And one of the books that I like to use is a book by Elliot Coleman. It's called The Winter Harvest Handbook. And it has a lot of great tips and information in there for extending your growing season. So the very first book that I got, it was a gift when I moved here to New England to help me with gardening. And it is called The New England Gardener's Year. I really like this book because it breaks down month to month of what you should be doing during the year so you can get the most out of your season. So this chapter is for the month of March. And it goes through what you should be doing here in New England as far as your schedule, how to grow, how to sow your seeds. It gives you a time frame of the earliest sowing dates. It's really helpful. It tells you what temperatures the ground should be before putting anything in. And at the very end of the chapter, it will tell you, give you this nice chart here. So for example, if you have asparagus that you're going to be planting, you can see that the asparagus, it gives you a time frame. It should be started in April, depending on what zone you're in. Broccoli, it should be seeded indoors. It gives you a date for that. So another book that I like to use is The Secret of Companion Planting. And what a lot of people don't know is that there are certain vegetables that when you plant them together, they help each other out. For example, tomato and basil. But then there are plants that if you plant them too close to one another will inhibit their growth. So it's really important to know which plants can be planted next to one another when you are planting your garden. Here on our farm, we use a market garden style plot. And one of the books that I really found very helpful is by J.M. and I think it's Fortier or Fortier. But in this book, it helps you to lay out your garden. And traditionally with market garden style growing, you use a 30-inch bed with an 18-inch walkway, but you can vary depending on what you're trying to accomplish on your property or in your garden. But I really like this because it has a lot of information in here where it tells you how many flats you're going to need for the size of the rows that you have. So if you're growing in a 50-foot row, which is what we have here, or a 100-foot row, it tells you exactly how much of each you're going to need to fill those rows. And then it tells you how much per row to plant. So with spacing, it's real important. You don't want to have things crowded. So this is really, really helpful in getting that information out if you're looking to do the market garden style. So one last thing that we'll use here on the farm this year for the first time is the Clyde's Garden Planner. And I really like how this is set up. This red line that you see across here, you are going to pull out the insert and you're going to put it on your last frost date for the year. And this is for springtime. It has a spring on this side and it has fall on that side. So that's also really, really helpful. So for us, I believe our last frost in spring is the first week in June, which is great because that's as far as this will go up. But it tells you when to start certain plants, and when you should start them inside. It has a whole bunch of information, great information on here that you can use. So I'm looking forward to trying this out this year. All right, so now to the seeds that we're going to plant this year. So some of the companies that we've used in the past are Baker's Creek Heirloom Seeds, Johnny's, and then just some that you can get at the grocery store. So again, this year we are going to be using those 3, but we also added a couple of other companies to our variety. Gurney's and Harris Seeds are 2 new companies we're going to try out this year. We're waiting for our seed potatoes to come in and our bare root rutabaga as well. So we will let you guys know how we like these 2 companies. Speaking of seeds, we have a seed swap coming up. Brad and Krista from the Big Family Homestead reached out and asked us to help out. We'll leave the link in the description below. We have 12 beds available. We plan on planting a variety of vegetables this year, from potatoes to beans, lettuce, carrots, and so on. We also plan on using these beds in a succession pattern. For example, carrots. Carrots will be sown every 2 weeks so that we have a harvest throughout the season. In our greenhouse, we're going to be planting our heat-tolerant vegetables like our tomatoes and peppers. Now I'm going to get started planting my tomato seeds. How I like to plant my tomato seeds is I like to use these 72 cell plastic containers. I use a non-draining bottom container. Fits right inside nice and easy. The reason I like to use this is generally when you are planting your tomatoes, you want to water them from the bottom up. You don't want to be watering them on the top because it can cause some mold issues. Not always, but a lot of times it can. So that's why I use this method. The other thing I like to do is I use a big bucket for my compost. It just helps to contain everything. I'll take this, I'll sit it inside, and then I'll just fill that tray, take it out, and I'll put it in here. So I'm going to be planting 5 different varieties of tomatoes. And that might seem like a lot, but there are 5 different types of tomatoes. So to start out, I'm going to be planting a paste tomato in 2 different varieties. I have an Amish paste, and this one's from Johnny Seeds. And then I have a San Marzano, and this one is from Gurney. The combination of the 2 really make a good tomato sauce. The next type is what they call a slicers. So slicers are your bigger types of tomatoes that you put on your sandwiches. And this is, I have 2 different types of brandy wines. I have your traditional red brandy wine, and then I have a yellow brandy wine. And both of these are from Johnny Seeds. And then another slicer, this particular variety, it can be considered a slicer. They're usually more like a salad type of a tomato. They're a little bit smaller than your big brandy wines. This one is called a German, a striped German, and then the other one is a New Girl. So those are the varieties of salad tomatoes that I'm going to be planting. So those are from Johnny's as well. And then the last type of variety of tomato that I'm going to be planting this year is some cherry tomatoes. And I have 2 different varieties. One I've never tried before, and I'm really excited because everyone says they're delicious. It's called a Sunrise Bumblebee tomato. They're a tiny little yellowish orange tomato, and they have a lot of flavor, so I'm really excited to try that one. And then the other one is called a cherry bomb, also a small cherry sized tomato that is supposed to have a lot of flavor as well. The only type of tomato that I'm not growing this year is called a currant tomato, and that type is a very, very small itty bitty type of snacking tomato, but I just couldn't find any that I thought that I would want to try this year, so I'm not going to do those. Just going to get my hands dirty. All right, so I'm going to start with the Sunrise Bumblebee. Tomato seeds are really small, so you want to just be real careful when you're pouring them out. I'm going to put 2 seeds per pod to give myself a better potential for germination. just going to keep on going with the different varieties. All right, so now I'm just going to cover these loosely with some more dirt. So I have the seeds covered. Now I'm going to water them in, put them on the heat pad and under the light, and get them back in the grow room. So now that the lights are hung, the next thing I want to do is put up these shower curtains. We're going to wrap the entire rack, and what this is going to do is going to help keep the heat and the moisture in for when the plants are germinating. A split in the middle, it overlaps a little bit just so I can get in there to get the seeds. So we're in our grow room right now. I just wanted to stop and say, if you guys are finding value in these videos and you'd like to see some more content like this, please consider subscribing to our channel. The seed tray is sitting on a warming rack, and I've filled the container down here with water, and I use warm water because I find that it gives it a little bit of a boost, helps it to germinate. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to moisten the top because the soil is dry and we want the moisture to come in contact with the seeds so it helps it to germinate. And then I have them underneath the lights. Some people use the lights, some people don't put the lights on until they germinate. It's kind of preference. I've always done it this way. It works for me, so I'm going to continue to do it that way. So I'm going to keep planting my tomatoes, and if you guys want to leave us a comment below, tell us what your favorite tomato is. Thanks for watching, guys.